Hey, Dragon Dreamers. Gina Virginia Casella here, and welcome to Story Species, Story Medicine, Extra Strength. When we share our stories, we give and receive medicine. One of the best ways to heal is with the earth. And that's exactly what we do with each other right here on Story Species, Story Medicine, Extra Strength. Ready to take your medicine?
Hey, Dragon Dreamers, Gina Virginia Casella here, and welcome to Story Species, Story Medicine, Extra Strength. I have with me today a very special guest, Chris Laterreur, a fellow Canadian, and does he ever have one heck of a story to share? And we were just chatting behind the scenes briefly, and I was reminding Chris that here on Story Species, Story Medicine, we don't investigate any of the guests, any of the information, because we're after the medicine and knowing how important feelings are, how you think and feel. Every single thought that you have, even when you're sleeping and you don't mean to have any thoughts, each and every single thought you have is followed by an emotional response, which causes a biological reaction. And so I'm really looking forward to chatting away with Chris. You know me, Dragon Dreamers, I'm jam-packed full of questions. The one thing I'm really interested in diving deep with Chris about is this business of not being heard, your voice being drowned out, other people taking your story and changing it up, and we'll get into that. So before I bring Chris to the stage, I'll just show you my little advertisement here. Chris wrote a book, and we're going to dig right into it. Just a little formal biography here. Chris Laterreur, also known as Duncan Cameron, he was recruited at the age of 6 years old by the CIA to be trained to become a spy, assassin, mercenary, black ops, while taking part in a top secret MK Ultra sub-project called the Monarch Project. Chris is the real MK Ultra, Montauk Boys subject who's behind the mysterious and legendary event that took place the 12th of August, 1983, underground the USA Air Force base called Camp Hero in Montauk, Long Island, New York, USA. This top secret experiment has killed some militaries, destroyed a part of the base, and since it has been closed indefinitely. The Netflix hit series Stranger Things is inspired by this true story. In this first-hand account, Chris sets the story straight, crushing the official narrative. He dispels myths surrounding this legendary event, bringing the rumors to their knees as he reveals the unglamorized and shocking truth behind the real events that transpired August 12th, 1983, during the last moments of Camp Hero. Wow, 1983. I was born in 81. And without further ado, it's my pleasure, Dragon Dreamers, to bring the author right here, the Montauk Boys, getting better at using StreamYard. I'm looking for you. There he is. All right, here we are. Chris Laterreur, big welcome to you. Thank you so much for being a guest today on Story Species, Story Medicine. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on your show. I appreciate it. So, yeah,
Absolutely. So I know Chris is pretty popular and a lot of folks into military conversations, super soldier programs, time warps. I mean, there's just endless opportunities and conversations that we can have with Chris. Where to start, right? But the first place I'd like to start is when you're telling your story and people don't believe you. when you're telling your story, but even after you've written a book and you've provided facts and you've got names and dates, it's just not enough, right? It's not enough. When will it be enough? There's a Netflix series, it's a huge hit, that according to you is based on your story. So, I mean, just for a moment, the actual story to the side, let's focus on you, the person. How are you thinking and feeling that you went through an experience, you've written a book, you've been on multiple shows about it, and still you're receiving backlash from the public? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that sucks a bit because like people don't realize all the risk I'm taking by exposing all this and because like people have heard of Montauk, but I'm closing like 5, 6 other places in my book that like they can't use anymore. So and those were all places for different tests or all used to play in the minds of the kids that were in the program or recruited. So yeah, it kind of sucks, and it's control the position. Like they don't want the story out, but it's out now. My book is not only a book; it's a legal document. It's my statement for like the action class against the Allen Memorial Hospital because the MK Ultra program and the CIA wasn't working only in the United States. They were working in Canada. They were working with other countries, building those super soldiers and Manchurian candidates and like different use. We all got recruited. My group anyway, we got recruited at 6 years old, and we're brought to a job fair in with the preschool, the kindergarten, and the people had little booths with tables, and they were talking about their trades, like tools and stuff on their tables. And the last booth was military and cops. They had like drug sample, guns, and military stuff. So we were all attracted by that, and yeah, they offered us to participate in a secret project. We all wanted to do that, so they gave us checklists, and we filled them out with the kindergarten teacher on the spot. And after, they gave us papers for parents if they were okay to sign them back, and we would get an appointment with them, which I did, and my mom signed, and so that's how I got recruited at 6. And they bought a school. The CIA bought a school and a little church that was in front. This was used as their undercover office, the church, and the school was a regular school, public school, but mostly used for the Monarch Project. And when people from the CIA were coming to train us or stuff like that, they were separating the class, the students that weren't part of the group, and they were sending them to field trips or movie days or stuff like that, and we were doing the training. So that's how it went. Like that was called the Monarch Project, and the Monarch Project is a sub project of MK Ultra. Like they changed of name when with the church committee exposing this, so they changed the name to the Monarch Project program. Or so that's it's just continuing as the evolution of MK Ultra from far from the 50s. So yeah.
That was a great introduction. Thank you. So just to rewind for a moment, folks, my audience really ranges. There's folks out there who they know all about this stuff. And then I've got other dragon dreamers that they're just starting to have memories about things that have happened to them. And so when you were going to school, from your perspective, because I was a public school teacher for 20 years, and I think back to my career and all the joy it brought me to have guest speakers and all the field trips that we went on. I've never experienced anything like this, but as a child, wow, especially in those primary years, age 5, 6, 7, and 8, how appealing, especially to have real police officers there showing you their tools that they use. And then it's like community helpers, and the child within always wanting to help, right? And having an interest in options. And so before you know it, there you are in this program. But at what point did you realize, hey, this is something weird is going on here? Like, at what point did you have a conversation with your mom and your dad, and you were like, hey, this isn't what we signed up for? Or did you feel
Well,
disempowered because you were just a child?
yeah, well, actually, in the first appointment, like when I got recruited, like they were talking to my mom and saying that it would be done through light trauma, and like that I wouldn't remember nothing with the help of hypnose, and that they would synchronize all my brain so that I would become a genius, like a big. Salesmen, like a team of salesmen on somebody that like they have permission to sell. So it was well-tuned machine to sell the idea to parents, and like they were giving a lot of cash. Like I have a pension for this. Like few advantages and like a support all our life with the elites and like important people that would assist us in life, and yeah, like nice promise, but like all watered down, like not giving the real facts. And the other thing is that uh, I wanted to be to be in this, the part of this, so like I couldn't complain or whatever. I wanted to do it. So like they kind of play with your brain doing this, and also like I couldn't talk to my mom about stuff that was happening when they were coming to pick me up and going to do trainings and stuff, or going for a week or two or wherever. And like she couldn't ask me a question, I couldn't talk about it, and that could be a test anytime. So like they made it sure that we weren't comfortable talking together. So that was like the main thing. And like they were recruiting a lot of kids in my area, through yeah, people that were really good at school, yeah. So and climbing them of class, special classes. And same for the lower IQ were in another group too. And yeah, and it's little they were doing like a bunch of little tests to see like how we were performing. And example, like measuring a penny, like how can you measure a penny? And people were measuring with the penny with the face, and like the thickness. But like I said, hey, like you write a line on it, you roll it, you can and like that got me to another, so it's little things like that they were looking for in the first few years, and putting us in tune with ourselves, for mid station, for telepathy, like teaching us all those telekinesis and stuff like that. And that was the like astral projection, and like remote viewing were some of those things too. And yeah, like they were looking for the kids that had like the best in tune with themselves to like connect with others and stuff like that, and like the psychic powers kind of thing. So
Wow, that's really great information. Thank you for sharing. I do see some folks in the chat here, Anchor Haven, and there's Aquarius Rising. Good to see you folks. And I do see questions. I will get to questions in the chat shortly, so keep those questions coming. Chris, when I think about things that you're sharing, just even like the remote viewing and astral projection, were you already having interesting dreams or psychic, intuitive knowing before you were recruited, and then it was enhanced afterwards?
I'm not sure if I had like wild dreams like younger, but like I'm not sure that's the cause for like like the astral projection part and all that. They really taught me how to do, and I tried for a while before like it worked. Like like I was trying, it wasn't working, and at some point I don't know what happened, but it was just almost instant. So. And that's where it got dangerous for me because they made me do other tests and that sent me to like a Montauk, and that was the place like you didn't want to go because at Montauk we were kept in like underground in tunnels and in cages and yeah, like the worst treatment you can imagine there, like on kids especially. So yeah,
And you know what? Something that I appreciate you when you share out is you don't over glorify the violence. Like there's a serious tone when you're speaking, and it's really scary, and there you are as a child, you get separated from your peers. It's perceived as something for gifted students, but really they're also taking an interest in special education students because there's an interesting range of creativity, innovation, critical thinking skills, and just things like general leadership skills. And so I can appreciate how the folks who were doing the recruiting wanted to test you and separate you and put you together. And then all of the sudden, things are kind of fun and cool. But next thing you know, you're in a cage and it's just like total trauma, inappropriate, not cool, lots of blood and gore, death, people dying in front of you. And that's not the focus of story species, story medicine. It's the medicine and the wisdom that comes from all of these lessons and giving space to share stories. Because there's a lot of folks like you who have experienced things firsthand directly in this life. And then we have a lot of dragon dreamers who have dreams from past lives where this stuff is going on, and those realities get blurred together. And I find that when people are sharing their stories, they glorify the violence. And so I always take a moment to appreciate when the other parts are being highlighted. When I think about children and developmentally where they're at, I feel like if I was, for some strange reason, using myself as an example, that if I was going to kidnap children or manipulate them in a situation like yours, where you actually have parental consent, I definitely wouldn't want to be kidnapping babies. That would be way too much work, right? And I definitely wouldn't be interested in age, 4 and under, because that's too young still. I feel like age 7, 8, 9, those children that age are more independent. They're more independent in their thinking. But what's interesting too, I don't know if you know this, but academically, however you're performing in grade 3, that's basically how you're performing in grade 10, and essentially how you're performing for the rest of your life. And so I wonder if that's why they were targeting that age group too, because they wanted to know, where are you now? Because that's going to tell us where you're going to be when you're an adult. And what's interesting is socially and emotionally, the person you are at age 5 is the person you are for life. So again, if for some strange reason I wanted to kidnap people, part of me would want to kidnap people at age 3, 4, because I'd want to get them before age 5 so I can manipulate them and brainwash them. So all their ways of knowing, subconscious programming, like that's when it's heavy, right? Yeah. But then age 6, 7, that's a special time because academically it's like the last hurrah. If I'm going to teach you anything, like if I was going to be your teacher and teach you mind reprogramming, astral projection, and all these other interesting things, or maybe even teach you how to violently kill somebody, right? I would want to do that age 6, 7, 8. What are your thoughts about that? Have you ever considered the developmental age. And when you think back to your experiences, do you ever think about somebody who was a bit older than you, a bit younger than you, that maybe it makes sense now why they were there, why they weren't there? I tend to throw a lot at my guess. So, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that? Age 5 and then like age 6 and your mind going static.
That's an interesting point because, like, that's the age where you start learning for school, and like, like the big rush of information, and you're absorbing everything, and you're learning everything easily. Like, so, and it's part of the programmation because, like, we all wanted to be in certain fields or like on those first checklists, but those checklists were coming regularly, and like they were just like keeping and like studying us, like like each kids that were in the project. The CIA was buying another house next to it and installing people that were looking over it, so that like there were no leaks or nothing happening, because like they were investing a lot of money on us. So and like those houses were just taking values, and so it's just so yeah, all the kids, like we all, in my group, we all wanted to be the badass with guns, and so we followed our group in the pretty much all the long of the Monarch project, and like through all our lives. But like it's not everybody that like wanted to be this, that did this. Okay, if you had like aptitude for other like other fields, or so like they were like manipulating you to those other fields, and like when they use you, you don't remember, like because it's done through like okay, at the school we were years always like having those sound tests, and like ultra low frequency, and they were using us to our own frequency, and like soon as they were starting this, we were like falling on neutral and ready to take orders, and like that's one of the most regular tests that they were doing all along the Monarch project, like those tonality, like just to get us used to this, and that's how it works. So
Very interesting, and thank you for sharing that out. And it's interesting because when I think about the training that you acquired, it was very intensive from the start. It's not like they waited for you to be a teenager and then show you how to use a gun. Like this was just very young. And I'm wondering too, how did they reward you? Did you receive punishment if you did something wrong, or was it just if you did something right, they reinforced it? How was
I
that
went to
done?
Disney, like like I went twice to Disney during the project, and like but both time was just to go to Florida, because like Cape Cod Center was around there, and there were the NASA there, and I had to go do some tests at the NASA. Like 1 year was I was paired up with another kid, and like we were in a thing that was turning super fast till we were wiping out. And we did that test, and after we continued like our vacation for the week. That was super cool. I went with my granddad for the first the first time, and the second trip was with my granddad, my mom, and my dad. And at some point, me and my mom went to the NASA again, and it was a cold bath, like was like a glass box, and like full of water, icy water, and there were a seat in it, and they were putting socks on me, like monitors, and like a guy with a white suit was taking notes and checking the screen, and I sit in it for I don't know how long, and after like okay, and give me a towel, dried up, and we'll continue our vacation for the week. So so that was kind of your reward, a reward, but like you never knew where you were going, or like the thing was like it could be bad or it could be good. So like we're just trying to be good, to be like to have the good stuff, and but yeah, that's how it's done. Like,
It sounds like it could be confusing, absolutely, especially from a child's perspective and the trust that children have with adults. Even when children consciously are aware that they're being abused, they will always hold the adult in the highest light, you know? Um,
yeah,
so it's very confusing. I can't say that word enough. And what's interesting is, as a story species, we demand, the logical mind demands a beginning, a middle, and an end. It demands structure. It demands ceremony and rite of passage. And so these amazing field trips that you went on to Disneyland makes me feel like, in the children's perspective, a child's lens, that this would serve as like a ceremony or as a rite of passage. Like, you go through all these trials and learning, and yeah, there's upsets, but oh, then you've got Disneyland to look forward to. And it's kind of like everybody gets to go to Disneyland. And of course, the studious child you are, you don't want to cause any trouble or upset and any trauma or anything wrong going on. Well, you just second guess yourself, and we blame ourselves, right? And so um, how did this come to an end? I know Anchor Haven's got lots of questions. Anchor Haven, I'm going to get to the chat questions. Don't worry. But so life goes on, and so now you can do like psychic remote viewing as a default from this experience. I always want to find the grace in disgrace. So, like, what's the grace? What are the beautiful highlights that you can carry forward from all of this tragedy? I mean, it's too easy to slip into the blood and gore, but what's,
yeah.
like, on a positive note, you have friends that you're still in connection with. You can remote view. You have a better understanding of yourself. Um, Tell me a little bit more about those highlights, about the grace in this disgrace.
Well, it's not just bad, the project. We learn a lot of good stuff, to be in tune with ourselves and all. And this is stuff that we're using daily. That it's just programming to us, and uh, you just have to appreciate those little things that this brought. But there's a balance to everything. It's nice to do like remote viewing, astral projection, and but to live with the luggage of everything that brought me there is still another thing, because you gotta they showed us how to compartmentalize all of the info we're logging in our head, okay? And some of the bad memories, I remember you put this in the lower drawer, that you don't go back there. You this is like the file, um, so yeah, you have to because when they erase your memory and all, because when they let you go like that, they erase your memory, and you gotta relearn how what you know, and it's weird. It's a procedure, but if you go slowly, and you take the time to process every info before passing to other, not to overwhelm your brain, it goes well, and you're able to uh, also with the regression it knows, and the removal of the hypnotic blockage, and hypnotic suggestion that they do, and the frame of thought that they implant when they erase your memory. When you manage to take this off, everything is coming back, and it's, but yeah, they kind of sabotage you by doing this. If you got to do this, you got to, that's a step that the people, survivors, you got to go and get those hypnotic suggestion removed. So it's a
That's
life
amazing. And
changing
you
thing.
know, It is life-changing. And, I do hypnotherapy as well, mind reprogramming. I don't hook people up to machines, but it's through the cognitive, through the talking and repeating. And then, there's the integration period. So if somebody books a session with me, the next 21 days, they have to listen to it. But the thing is, the mind can only focus on one presenting problem at a time. Someone like yourself, you've got like a million presenting problems from this. And it sounds to me like the folks doing the regression are trying to chunk it all together. And what's happening is the mind is overwhelmed and you can't just zap it all gone. And then on a biological level, there's memory in your cells, right? And so each and every single present moment matters because it determines the next present moment. And so until basically every single cell in your body dies and regenerates, and it's not passing that program on to the next generation of cells, you're going to keep repeating this pattern. And so that's very helpful to share, because there's a lot of folks out there who they're in denial about things like getting mind reprogramming. They're scared of it, or there's a lot of stigmas to what I do. People think that it doesn't work because you have to keep going back. But when you listen to somebody sharing like yourself, it only reinforces how many layers and how often that you need to go and see a hypnotherapist. And ultimately, epigenetics matters. So if you consistently surround yourself with an environment and people who resonate with you, that you're in right relationship with, then when you have those bad days, when you fall consciously, you can rise a bit easier. You don't fall so hard. And so do you find that in your healing journey, your circle of friends have shifted? Do you find some people are just kind of in the negative, they're stuck in their stories, and maybe they're hard to be around because of that? How do your circle of friends, what does that look like and sound like now after this? Has it brought you closer to people, made some space?
My friends are still the same friends that I had that I met in the projects. Like, like we're still all friends, and they made like brothers of us. So um, yeah, we followed up like yeah, like it's hard to explain, but yeah, it's kind of a creates a bond, like, and a lot of us were paired up, like, during the project, because they were like twinning us, like, with others. So for like those telepathy and like tests and all. So yeah, like we're all linked, and like, yeah,
I can
it's
appreciate that. Trauma stories typically bring people together, because that's the power of story medicine. Even if it's a negative story, it's still medicine. It's recognizing when that medicine becomes toxic, just like any kind of, healing. Um, so when you were taken into these programs, you were you yourself, Chris the person, but then you were buddied up with other people. And can you tell us about these twins, and can you clarify things like cloning, things like artificial intelligence, if you were part of that? Do you feel like you were cloned, or like there's some kind of part AI Chris out there, or do you have a twin that is biologically like you share the same blood, or is it some kind of AI twin? Um, and it might sound confusing when I ask questions, because I too am learning the language.
well, for cloning, I know there's cloning exists, but I'm not like I wasn't in that field, or like mixed with them, but like I know it exists. Like Clonade in Canada is like one of the main company. Um, but yeah, like I know I hear a lot of people talking about cloning, but like I won't talk about stuff that I didn't like experience myself, or so. Yeah, like but it's factual. Like I know the owner of the company, so like I know it's real. So yeah, there's a lot of like the pairing up and like the twinning is like through the program, like like kids from the project. So like we were like doing, like some days we were like one was blindfold, the other one was guiding him. Like and like half the day after the other half was like and just to so he doesn't fall in the stairs or stuff like that. And yeah, the power of like like uh, yeah, to be in tune with ourselves is what they were like with the pairing up is what they were looking for. And like once you're paired up, it's like you're falling quantum almost, like like you're generating a lot. And like they were using us as batteries also in some cases. And so to power others. And yeah, so like and at Montauk, that's what was happening. Like the one that was on the chair was powered a lot of time by the other one. I don't know if the power was through the trauma they were doing to the other kids at the same time, or like because we were so like all connected. So yeah, that's stuff that like I think about, like like sometimes like trying to understand all the why of it. Like trying to, yeah.
Absolutely, especially back in the 80s, because you have to remind the audience this was before the internet, this was before Bluetooth, this was before shows like Stargate Atlantis came out. So, I mean, what did people have? Back to the Future and RoboCop to really kind of gauge an understanding, and then being a child mixed in all of this, how do you make sense of it? Like the wireless connection, and even movies like Monsters Incorporated, where they have to scare the children, and then you learn at the end of the movie that it's really the laughter, because laughter generates far more energy. And so I'm wondering, emotionally, these triggers were causing some kind of chemistry, electronical building. And the reason I'm thinking this is because I think about back to when you mentioned guns, right? Like, why would you give a kid a gun? Either so they can defend themselves or hurt somebody, right? Um, so I have interesting dreams where these folks, they're called the Great Galactic Navy, and they're not the guns type. And to make a long story short, they're the social emotional type, and their connection with me is learning and trying to understand how emotions are being weaponized. And when you're speaking, I can't help but think that. Like, I feel like the project you were a part of was way ahead of its time, because social emotional learning is I'm always advocating to be a priority in public education. How you think and feel matters so much. And we're always pushing the academics. But really, we know from research that when the amygdala is rested, when you're self-regulated, when you have food, water, and you're cared for, like all these basic needs are taken care of, you can learn anything. And it's easy to learn because of that. So you would think that, like I think, yeah, that's probably why they were taking you to Disneyland and having a buddy system and making sure that there was fun in that, because they wanted to make sure your amygdala was nice and relaxed. But there was also some other agenda going on with wireless connections. To me, that's very fascinating, that like socially and emotionally from a distance, if you saw your twin fall down the stairs because you didn't tell them because they were blindfolded or whatever, then it would be your fault, and the emotional turmoil on that and the guilt and shame that comes with it. I can understand and appreciate why they were so fixated on observing everybody, because they wanted to observe those very moments that on a chemical, biological level that something shifted the energy, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transformed. And so when you speak about being a transformer, transistor of energy, I'm like, wow, we need to talk to somebody who studies energy and engineering and parallel this information, right? I find it fascinating. And what are your thoughts on emotions being weaponized? Emotions as the new gun. Never mind your guns or bullets. Never
Yeah,
mind sticks and
that's
stones. Never mind your bombs. What do you think about just good old-fashioned feelings and using that as
yeah,
weapons?
yeah, that's really like that's way more powerful. You can like like feelings. You can uh, project like your feelings to somebody else or whatever. Like they show us how to do stuff like that. So like to like get in the mind of people and so yeah like they they trained us for like yeah to to use different ways than regular ways, so and also like one of the things like they put us asleep for almost a month, like and playing tapes in our like headphones and like while we were sleeping and just waking us to go to the toilet and like so for a month, and like those tapes, like I found a few lately, and like it's all like it's not bad stuff. Like like so, like you gotta persist, and but like repetition like that and all. Yeah, like they kind of like mold you. Like it's molded into you. Like it's part of you. You you're not conscious of it because like most of it is erased on the spot, and it's programmed to be coming out if you need it. But yeah, like there's a lot to figure out when you wake up to all this and like it always come back like for all the survivors that I know that like come back through little flashbacks and like little flashbacks. But at some point, those little flashbacks gets overwhelming on your life, and that's where you need to like dig more or like make a choice. So, but you got to be careful in that choice because like if you take the red pill of like knowing the truth and all, you can't go back after because like yeah, doesn't work. So
Absolutely. It's a full disclosure. I mean, once you learn something or you're awakened to it, it doesn't matter if it's in real life or in a dream. Once you have awareness, there's no changing, right? And so when they had you asleep for a month, was this like some extended field trip where you were just gone for like the whole summer holidays or something?
well, it was during like a spring vacation, like during school, and like it was in the one of the school that I went, and like we all had bunk beds in a gym, and we were all in a gym, and people from the CIA were like waking us up once in a while, and like just like taking care of the tapes and like and this we built that like me and my friends build that place again for younger groups later and like so because like the beds weren't kept there, they were in another building and like so yeah, and that's something that was going on for who knows how long that place
Sounds like there was mentorship going on, mentorship amongst the children who were there, and then there was also mentorship going amongst the people who were employed, who were doing these experiments. They too trying to figure out what's going on and make sense of things. Wow, that's really fascinating. I have a bunch of questions written down here. Uh, where to start? as far as your memories go, so are you just having like a normal day, doing your thing, and all of a sudden, maybe you see a gold chain or silver earrings, and oh, that's your trigger. Now you remember this and that, and you're like an expert on something that you had no idea you were an expert. Like, does that still happen to you? And what do you do in those situations?
Well, it's not the feeling of expert. You're feeling kind of lost when the flashbacks at first come out. Like, like you're not feeling like an expert. You're feeling crazy. Like, what's going on? Because like the stuff they made us do was pretty wild. So you, it's hard to like, yeah, you get the feeling of uh, like you're lost, or you've lived a lie all your life, or like it's kind of a tough thing to get over it. But once you like you kind of dealt with this, and you appreciate every moment to know the truth, like because yeah, like yeah, some memories are like harder than others, like like because they mix, like like all kinds of like different field, and like also like electromagnetism is one of the things that they were like mixing to play with our emotions and all, like especially on the chair. Yeah, like it was a mix of different technology that was like bringing to like play with our feeling, and like yeah, like they were controlling our emotions, and like playing with our emotions, and yeah, like
Sounds like you were the technology ultimately. It was like you were, and the other folks who were part of this program, whether they wanted to be or not, were essentially soft technology. Just the biological Homo sapiens sapien, the raw body that you are, and the networking chemical reactions that are going on, and how can scientists embed that? And what's interesting is there's a theory out there that the Homo sapiens sapien is facing extinction. And so, some people believe when you die, you shed the body and you go to heaven. Well, people believe that we're going to shed the entire body, and we're just going to exist in the state of light and water, which we pretty much already are now. So I start thinking about, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but I guess I'm thinking about ghosts and what's called the Homo luminous. And it means invisible people, essentially, or it could mean light people. And when I listen to your story, I think about that kind of stuff. I think about, like, when you're remote viewing, the biological one you are stays put, but part of your brain taps into that subconscious mind, and off you go wherever it is you go. So I think about, like, is there a part of you, a piece of technology that goes and investigates, like a little camera, and then you come back and you bring all that back as memories and information, no different than a bloodhound taking the lead of hunters. Like if I was a hunter and I had a lot of dogs and I had them run ahead, and then I had them come back to me, and then I could, test their fur and swab their mouths for any information. I kind of feel like that's what was going on with you folks. You were the experiment. Simultaneously, you were the part of the technology, and also simultaneously, you were those hunting dogs. You were sent off to do whatever, and then you would come back with information, not just through talking, but probably through smells and scents on your body, that may or may not even be there. But if you're thinking it, then there's probably some way that they could get like a chemical. I don't know. I just know that science is real and technology is real, and that all of this is not that far-fetched. It might have sounded far-fetched back in the 80s, and now that we know all that we know, and radically accepting the things that we don't know. You know, like the story of Frankenstein. I do believe that that's a real story, parts of it. I do believe that there's all kinds of interesting things going on. So why wouldn't those things be going on in the 80s with somebody like yourself, right? And I think about illusion, like the lines on the map being illusion. And, you know, here we have Canada, the United States, but my understanding is underground, there's all kinds of roads and maps that it's not even distinguished Canada, the United States. And I wonder, were you knowledgeable about that as a child, or did you just think you were going on some adventure? like,
Well, I remember going in the dumb bays, like we were in a scout field trip and like gone for like a week or something, and they came in the middle of the night, wake us up in our tents, and we had to walk in the woods, and there were two choppers waiting for us. We did a night flight to the Bagotville Air Force in Canada, and from there we went to a store, and like there were spiral there, and like after like big automatic stairways going down like super long, and that place is huge, and they were traveling us in those tunnels with golf carts and like little wagons in the back, and like we were crossing other wagons, carrying other people, and some of the I remember some of the doors like in the first section were like big white doors with black numbers, and after like we went to another section that were like gray doors with yellow number, and yeah, like it's huge, like people don't have it's hard to imagine like how big it is, like it's huge. So
yeah,
yeah,
it is
those
hard to
doors are
imagine.
probably 40 feet, 35, 40 feet big, you know, like uh, big middle doors, a bit everywhere in those places. But yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, I went there.
Were these places well lit? Like,
Yeah, yeah, like,
it was just like another day on the job for folks who are doing this, you know, kidnapping
yeah, it's not,
children, manipulating
I don't
families,
know.
folks are going in, going out, some children are dying. I mean, what happened to, like, what would they do with the deceased bodies?
Uh,
Did they just remove them and that was it, or like,
at Montauk, I saw one dead kid that was like they hanged him like by a foot, and like he was draining in the middle pan, and like uh, yeah, I don't know what they did with the body after.
do you feel
I
that was
wasn't
a
there when
lesson or
they
a,
killed them. Like they just brought him and like let him like to collect the blood in the pan there, and but yeah, like supposedly 1% of us made it out of alive of there when we were brought to Montauk. So 1% is like
that's
one
my
kid on 100
understanding.
kid gets out alive. So
Yes. Yeah. Wow. And, you know, it just begs so many questions, right? Um, I find when I listen to these stories, I always go back right to that child within and like, who was that child's parents, and um, what were their parents told, that there was some accident on the field trip, or was this another situation where the child was just completely missing? And
well, they were giving 300,000 like if we were dying like to the parent, but back up in the 80s, that's $1 million pretty much like today. So uh, people were getting rich and like they were just moving out of town. I don't know if they were moving out of town or like I don't know all the stories. Like for sure, like probably some like had like issues with this. Like so, I don't know what happened with them.
wow. So as life goes on, uh, you finally get to a point where you're like, okay, this is totally bogus, the situation. This needs to come to an end. Take us to that part. So you have like some friends that you've made in the program, and you're like what, in your teenager years when this comes to an end finally? Um, Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, like well, the Monarch project like finished like I think I was 12 or something like that. After at high school, like they were coming to pick me up once in a while and bringing me to do a test, like after bringing me back to school or home or wherever. But and after like I was a adult and like I lived my life, but like. At 35 years old, I started to remember stuff and like ask questions, and that's where like this changed my life. Uh, Me and my all my group got arrested, set up for like big charges. We were all doing good in life. We all had a lot like comfortable lifestyles and. Uh, like I was the owner of a Jeep shop and I started selling franchise. I had like six that were opening that year and and like the way they do this, they set us up and they take everything we own and like they try to erase us. And yeah, like now it's gonna be hard to erase, because of the book and like and people have to know this because yeah, like those guys, like, yeah, some of them like did a lot of like bad stuff, but at the beginning, like you got to back up to the tape that like we were all kids and like they messed up with their heads and like so like I think like the ones that survive and like deserve a bit of credit and a bit of chance to a better life, like because they left us like like. They tried to kill a bunch of us, like so. Yeah, it's just
And
a
so
matter of like
are you still
having a
haunted?
chance.
Like if you go to the grocery store, do you feel like you're ever being followed? Or I know your book that was published, it was taken down and now you're,
Yeah,
trying to get that back up again. So it's like, because you're a father too, right? So at
yeah,
some point, like you said, life went on and seemingly everything was flowing and natural. And then all of a sudden there you are, 35 years old, you start having memories, you start reconnecting with folks, the stories, you can't deny them. There's way too many similarities. And then all of a sudden your business, what starts failing, you start
yeah. My
having,
life,
uh,
like everything, every angle of my life, I was being attacked. I didn't know why. I didn't know from. It was just like, what's going on? Like like. Yeah, when they fall on somebody, like it's like you don't know where to put the head because there's so much happening at the same time. So yeah, like we all got arrested at the same time, and like they wanted all like 20 years and lifetimes and stuff like that. And so yeah, we escaped from jail and like and,
but why were they arresting you? Because you were starting to speak up and out, and then you found
yeah, I was
yourself getting
asking
arrested?
questions. I was asking questions about like
Okay.
the monarch test, and like if I was like the grand finalist and I did all the tests, like my friends that were in my group was just a matter of time before it was happening to them too. So like they didn't take any chance and they tried to like erase the reserve because we were part of a unit. They were calling it the reserve and yeah, we're like kind of like used once in a while for this or this and like just to keep the programmation active and reinforce the take they have on you with the hypnose and also like regular like little things that they get you to do and yeah.
You know what's interesting too is I made a note here to ask you about time loops, and I was going to ask you if you ever experienced that, but I also wonder if back when you were in the program, if they had you remote view the future to see where you are today, maybe they remote viewed you on story species, story medicine, extra strength. I don't know, because I would feel like, oh no, if this guy's going to be writing a book and sharing his story, then maybe they'd want you out of the program, but maybe there was something about you, or it makes me feel excited as a testament that they weren't able to know everything despite all of their research, that you were still able to be free, that there was a part of you inside that was autonomous and that was able to continue being yourself and rising above things that you didn't even understand, um, because free will is important to me, and I really challenge what that even means, knowing that we're incarnated into subconscious programming, right? So I wonder a lot of things, because the folks in my dreams, they're too intelligent for their own good, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe some of the folks that you were dealing with were too intelligent for their own good, because they failed to make those connections. Like, if you could remote view as a child, why can't you remote view the future and where you're going to be and narrow down the risks of people like yourself speaking up? It pisses me off, because it's like they get you to do certain things, but then they don't get you to do other things, right? Like, why don't you tell us a little bit about time loops, and then I can go on with my questions.
Okay, well, you're talking about like seeing the future and all. They had a device that like I think it's called a chrono visor or something like that. Okay, and like well, they had two machines. They had one that was a little one on a desk at school, and they had a one that was like you were sitting in it, and like a bit like with a submarine lens kind of thing, like and it looks like those Mayan like old drawing, like it's like a spaceship. A bit the guy is sitting in it. It was the same type of posture and all. And like this, you were looking into it, and like you were seeing like your all your till like your timeline kind of thing. So and something that was done like super quick too. Like it's not like it's like a projection kind of thing. It's a weird machine, and yeah, I went twice on the small one and one time on the big one in the big one, and the big one they had like a crew of extra staff that was checking like the time they had it at the building the church. And so yeah, like a few of us went on that thing, and so like on three different like two were really close, one was really not. So that's the memory I have of those, and that's a machine that really exists. Like people doubt or whatever, but it really does. So I tried it. So I tried them.
And I can appreciate somebody like yourself being perceived as a threat, because if you had a photographic memory or you made it a point to take drawing classes, then you might be able to draw that machine, and then somebody with a science background, engineering background, tinker with it and bring that to life, modify it. So I find that to be very fascinating. Or even somebody like yourself taking those ideas and creating whatever it is you want to create with them, you know? Wow. Wow. That was really insightful. I'm always jam-packed full of questions. The name Duncan Cameron, where did that name come from? Was that a name given to you?
Yeah, okay, let's put something clear. Like the other Duncan Cameron that like they made pass for it wasn't the real Duncan Cameron. He was like 30 something, like in 83. Like we were all kids, like from and this name, like, cause on our way to Montauk, we stopped the last kid that we picked up. was Michel, and we picked him up at Dunkin' Donut, and we all had little lunch, and they gave us LSD, and they all gave us like English names, other names to use there, like because we could be interrogated. We knew the place was gonna be hard and all, and then, like so like they all gave us like those adios to use. So that's how I got that name, Duncan Cameron, and that's like through the formation and through the Monarch programming and like on the card, like that was my agent name kind of thing. So uh, yeah, that's so the other Duncan Cameron, like yeah, like I'm sorry for people that really thinks it was him. It's not. Like look into my book, like uh, look into what I say, and like people gonna see that this was like just to make money out of the story.
So, I mean, fair enough. There could be another Duncan Cameron anywhere in the world, right?
Oh, yeah,
But is Duncan
common name.
Cameron like a repeated name that gets used all the time? And then, like, when you were out of the program, there would be another Duncan, but you were the last one. So I guess it ended there,
Yeah,
is what I'm
yeah, just
understanding.
that's my ID, like for my CIA ID, like was like so. Um, I think like yeah, like it's just like the some of the kids that were there, and like Preston Nichols also said my Adios name because he knew me under the Adios. So and like I know in one of their show they met. They're saying that they met through a audio repair job, and like oh they started having flashback. No, the guy was called ad for name Duncan Cameron, and like they decided to make a like. I don't blame them. Like they probably didn't know I was alive at that point, or so. Yeah,
That's really interesting. And I want to, like, you know, being a kid and growing up, eventually, you start to become the preteen and you start to be interested in girls and that kind of stuff. And I wonder, was there any space to have a girlfriend in this kind of situation? I mean, you're already kind of defaulted to being bonded, but um, how does the dating scene unfold
great,
throughout high
but like
school? Like,
sometimes like you miss times, like like oh yeah, we had a good night. Yeah, oh yeah, like I don't remember, like like so. This is stuff that happened to me personally. So yeah, like but yeah, like I had regular like love lives, like like couple with like woman for like 8 9 years, and like still friends with all those women, like for the most part. Yeah, so uh, yeah, like I don't know, like it's just like at some point the missing times, like when you go out and whatever, and you don't know, like this kind of like creates like doubt and like chaos in your relationship, but like when they don't see it or whatever, or like you can go on for years like that, like so and it's not
the reason
all
I'm
done by
wondering too.
at night. Some are done during the day, like at work, and like beep, the tonality, somebody shows up, do this, like just like reinforce the thing, and like you continue, and like you think it's a dream, or like you just watch the movie because like they programmed us to see that kind of stuff, like as the worst of the worst all the time. So like we're used to that kind of stuff, like. That's one of the things they do, like like always the worst of the worst, so like the rest it looks like easy peasy. So yeah.
Yeah, desensitizing you, and also from the child perspective, making it sound like it's a cool thing, you know, like you're tough, you can handle this, and that's part of the manipulation. I have another question for you, and then I'll go to the chat. I know Anchor Haven's got a lot in there, and thanks Anchor Haven and others for your questions. I will get to them in just a moment. My final question, just for right now, is so they teach you how to use weapons and this kind of stuff, and they also teach you how to be like smooth and sexy and cool and fun, because that way when you're talking and interacting with people, you default to being likable, right? And that's probably one of the big make or breakers of you being recruited. First and foremost, are you likable? And are you the kind of person that you can be social? And I'm wondering, like, um, because again, using myself as an example, if for some reason I wanted to kidnap children and do this, part of me would also want to provide the children with a program so that they could be loving, nurturing parents, you know, and so that when they're dating somebody, that like the man knows how to treat a woman, kind of thing, you know. And like, was that ever part of the programming, or was it just like what are
Yeah,
your,
that's
have you
what.
ever thought about that? Like, did they train you on even what it would be like to be a father and to have hopes and dreams of being a father? Or was that like a weird memory that came back? Like, do you feel denied? I'm throwing too much at you again, but I'm wondering, like, was there any programming to like be a loving boyfriend, to be the loving father, to be the loving homeowner, to have a business perspective? Were those programs included with all of your training?
Yeah, I think there's a background of psychology, how to deal with people, that they trained us how to, like, to be like a psycholo like a, use psychology to deal with some, like, because there's all kinds of like stupid people and like good people, and like, so you have to be able to like, and like also like acting classes and stuff like that, that they were like making us take and uh, practice. So and we had to, like, fake stuff and like in front of all the group, and like stuff like that that they were doing. And but looking at it like from like my age now and all, I'm realizing that was just to prepare us for all that. And uh, the manipulation of people, like, like put our ideas into other people's mind, and like, like the projection and this. So like there's so many stuff that like they taught us, like I didn't like get back all my memories. I got the main part, that like to try to avoid this to other kids. So like I'm kind of like like in my book there's a pattern, and like if you look at the other stories, there's a pattern, always the same kind of pattern through the years, through the different generation of MK Ultra. There's a, yeah, there's a procedure to it, and like that can't really change, because like it's how it works. So like people, like, like hopefully the new parents can like read this and talk with their kids that are at school and ask questions. Hey, anything like that that you saw at school, and like just being a better link for parents and kids to communicate, because like they're trying to like stop this with the little samples, like what I said, like you can't complain about it, you wanted this, and like you're not allowed because it's a test, maybe to talk with her. So yeah, there's different, like, but it's always this that kind of stuff. So like uh, you, like, the parents can ask their kids, and like avoid this, like if they see, because like those people are like high rank, nice suits, a lot of money, like blah blah blah, nice talking, but like at the end of the day, they're bad people, and like it's not what they're saying. And like the kids, they break family, they kill kids, they, because like yeah, so. I'm trying to avoid this to other kids. Like in my case, it won't change shit. Like like it won't bring back my friends. It won't like avoid this like to me. And like, but like just the feeling that like if I can avoid this to young families and like just like just no kids deserve this. Like whatever benefit is. There's not a reason for kids to like go through all this mind fuck. Like it's not. Hey, when you're a kid, you're there to play, to learn nice stuff, good values and stuff. Not what they what they taught us. Like
As you're speaking, I feel like there was some tiptoeing going on too on the part of the adults because they want to train you, but they have to be careful not to train you because they don't want you to be better than them, right? Ideas can be dangerous depending on who's in control and who wants the power. And
yeah,
so if I was training you, well, I would want to make sure that I didn't train you too well, because what about if you started reading my mind and programming me? And basically, this is when, like, going back to the story of Frankenstein, when the roles switch over, right? So I find like they had to be careful too, because you could be risky. And if you got to a certain point, it was like an invitation for you to now join the adults and to recruit, if you were going in that direction. If not, then you were allowed to go live your life, assuming they wiped your mind, which apparently didn't work. It sounds like these folks are real experts of rules of the mind, because everything you're talking about, what's familiar keeps you safe, right? And your mind's number one job is to lie to you, even if it means creating false inhibiting beliefs that keep you stagnant and stuck. I wrote a little note here about who's picking up the tab on psychology bills, because, you know, I myself went to see a psychologist, and I found chatting with hypnotherapists and folks who are spiritual energy medicine practitioners, they were a lot more helpful than the psychologist and psychiatrist. And I'm wondering, um, have you seen a psychologist, psychiatrist, and how does that measure up to an energy medicine practitioner? And
no,
then I
this
got one more question, I promise, and then I'll go to the comments questions.
like I didn't like go to a psychologist and talk about this because like most of them are aware of like because it's like a lot of the doctors are like head of psychology and like head of those, you know. So it's a big machine that you're fighting against, and like if you start talking about this, they're gonna like lock you up and like give you melt your brain like with meds, like because like me the thing to erase the memory. Um, was on a desk. I had to sit and put my face into it. There were a thing for the chin and for a pad for the forehead, and there were like two gray stick with ball, a ball at the end that was like giving me a shock on my temples, and yeah, that's like that cooks your brain, and after they program you like in my case the frame of thought they implanted was like oh you had the nicest childhood, you went twice to Disney and all, but like when the flashbacks were coming back, like that's the memories I was getting weren't like the nicest childhood and uh, they were like about the Monarch program. So yeah, that's why that at some point it was overwhelming. I was wondering, am I going crazy? Because like like those kind of memories are like, wow. So I went to regression hypnosis to find out if and yeah, that was real. Like we took out like the that frame of thought, the suggestions and the blockage, hypnotic blockage, and like that changed my life. Like from there, like memory was flowing back, and It's not always easy though, like because like sometimes like there's memory you could skip, like but yeah, at the end of the day, when you process them one by one and all, everything goes well, and like people are able to heal and from this and like have a better lifestyle, and like when you were a victim of this, you want to avoid a few things, and like you take some precaution, but like there's still a life that you can have, a balanced life and regular life, and like love life too, and so yeah, it's a family life,
And those are really important messages to communicate, because people out there who are listening to your story right now and receiving this medicine, that's a very powerful point. That's a real foundation of story species, story medicine, is finding the traumas and transforming them into treasures and carrying it over. Um, I see other people are in the chat here. Jason, I'm just going to scroll through now because I know there's lots of questions. But as I'm scrolling through, like right here, right now, if you needed to use a gun, do you know how to use a gun because of this training?
oh yeah, like the Jack, one of the handler, because I was always bugging them. When will I have a gun? And so he left me a P-38, like a 45, like a World War II gun with a clip and all, but like I didn't have any ammo. But just to get used to manipulating firearms. And my mom wasn't happy about this at all, but like she had no word to say about it. Like, like so and I couldn't get it out like when like friends were or people were around. Like it was just by myself, and so and at some point like I came back from school and the gun wasn't there anymore. Like he took it back or who knows. So, but yeah, like like the
Were
trip
you
at 9 years
disappointed they
old.
took the gun back?
Yeah, that was I was sad that day. Yeah,
Especially as a child.
yeah.
So I'm just scrolling through the chat here for questions, and I put some links there. Folks wanted to get your books. I noticed you've got Lulu and a Substack on the go, and there was also a link to purchase the book. Um,
The website terra@montauk.com.
Website tara@montauk.com. I'm going to write that down because I don't know if I have that in the description. Tara@montauk.com. All right. And on Saturday, March 14th, Chris is going to be speaking at the first ever Story Species Story Medicine Conference. So I'm super excited about that. I put that in the chat. And again, we've got Mateo, also known as Sebastian. Anchor Haven's hanging out with us. She thought Duncan Cameron was very old. We talked a bit about Duncan Cameron. So Duncan Cameron was a real guy, but when Chris Laterreur got into the program, took over that name as an agent name. And then Aquarius Rising Africa is with us. Nice to see Chris. Anchor Haven wants to know, when did you get your memory recall? So about age 35, but now how do you find your memories? Like, are they just random memory recalls or, yeah?
Out of nowhere, looking at an object or like living something similar, it brings back memories. Like um, a sample going to buy a metronome for like an oh puff, like memories of like hypnose that I lived in the past, and like I had to look at this, and so yeah, like it's out of nowhere. It's an object. It's a sound. It's an image that brings a memory. Like so, you're not like this is. You can't control like what memory is gonna come back or like, but you can control how you deal with it. Like you can just like let it flow or like get overwhelmed with it on the spot or like so there you have to learn to live with this, and I think I'm doing not bad in a way, like I'm surviving, like yeah,
Well, it sounds like you're really taking charge of the present moment, because when you're having a moment and you're getting triggered, I mean, it happens to the best of us, right? Like somebody pisses you off, they're wearing this certain perfume, and then you forget all about it. And there you are minding your own business at the mall and you smell that perfume, and now it takes you right back to that situation. But like you said, you can let the present moment rule you over, or you can take charge of it. So you either get help and explore your healing journey, you go on a quest where you ask more and more questions, or you choose to leave it be because maybe you're not ready for healing, and that's okay. Some people aren't ready to go down that road. That's very powerful to share. Another Anchor Haven's got lots of questions here, wanting to know, Chris, if you're aware of other bases for Project Phoenix other than Camp Hero.
Well, I was brought to Bagotville in Canada. That's one of the there's a base under it, but the other place were done in schools for the most part, and in the adjacent building to schools, like in the schoolyards, or stuff that were usually off limit for kids, and yeah, that's where they do this most of the time. But they're building those tunnels there's 40 miles of tunnels a day that they're doing per machine. So it's a Swiss cheese under there. People don't process how big all this is. You could drive with semi trucks in there for days. Everywhere. Yeah. So yeah.
When you speak about like Swiss cheese underground, that's exactly what I was picturing in my mind when you said that, because I grew up in Timmins, Ontario. Timmins is known as the city of with the heart of gold because there's so much gold and diamonds there. And I think about all the tunneling underground, and then I think about like the rest of the world and what the mining system looks like. Then you've got this kind of stuff going on too. And when you speak about the big tunnels, I taught English in South Korea for 2 years, and I went to the border of North Korea. They wouldn't allow us in the country, but we were just allowed like there at the border. And part of the tour was going underground because there was an intention to invade. So they were just showing us like, this is what it looks like. And I was surprised just how big and giant the space was. You would never know that you're underground. So
Yeah.
when you speak about something like this, like I can picture it in my head. I can absolutely see something like that. Yes. And Anchor Haven's commenting, is he aware of French SSP super soldier programs? So would you
Well,
consider
yeah.
yourself a super soldier, or?
Yeah, it's we were super soldier. They were building super soldier. We're trained to for endurance, to self heal, to a bunch of stuff. That's all in the line of the super soldier. Um, yeah, that's
Interesting.
a big part where we're French because the school was French. There's people from the CIA that were coming and teaching us in English, and the people that didn't understand were being translated by the teachers that were present in the. So yeah, there's all I think CIA has in every country there's agents like that, like sleepers like this, monarchs. Yeah,
Huh. I never
different
really
fields
thought about it until this moment. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was overlapping you.
yeah, there's a different field too. Some people are in they're sent in doctors, police, militaries, and stuff like that. But they're all under monarch, and actually, it's all those people that are in control position now that are being controlled by the people that are doing this. So it's a way to have control on everything, on everybody, on groups and even for like like from the nice group to the bad groups, like it's they control like people like everything. So yeah.
Sounds like it's one of those things. It's like a gangster mentality. Once you're in, you're in. Like you're initiated. There really is no getting out. And you learn the hard way that the good guy and the bad guy are the same guy. It's all about perspective, and it's like nobody even wants to be there anymore. Uh, but who else will be there? And something I never thought about until you started speaking about language is the English language is the business language, right? So if anybody wants to speak business language, which makes me think scientific language, they should want to know English. So it would be important to make sure that the French schools were learning English for that reason, not just because the English won the war, and that's why in Canada, English is the first language, and French, there was a fight for that to be a bilingual country. Here in Canada, in the province of Ontario, folks who are not aware, on our chip bags, it says it in French and in English, right? But if you go to a different province like British Columbia, Canada, they only have the English, and I thought that was interesting. Um, but I was just thinking business language in Ontario. Um, to me, there's something more going on there, because the science language is also a mathematical language. And so through the technology, I don't know, any thoughts on language? It just got me thinking right now.
Yeah, like language, they were teaching us like the old language, like Latin and like the other. Sorry, like I try to think of stuff, and like since they raised my memory and all, I have memories, and I'm jamming because like I got killed that day, like and like I got reanimated. I don't know how long I was out for. So yeah, like just dealing with this now. So
Yeah.
yeah, memory
And the
sometimes like
language of dreams. There's
yeah.
like body language, like going back to when you were taking acting classes and learning how to take on certain personalities. Like there's that body language, the language of dreams, um, then the literal English language, and then there's like a chemical language in your body. It's just wow. All of a sudden, I'm like, language is
Vibration.
coming up.
Yeah, it's
Because if this
vibration, I
is
think.
going on everywhere, then folks in Mandarin, like how would they connect with you? I guess and I also think that language could be used to keep people intentionally divided, right? Because
Yeah.
if you speak a different language than somebody else, it really limits the communication, and that might have been intentional or not.
There's no language limit, like a sample for species, or like when you're like in telepathy, like there's like a universal language. I think that like there's no like you're English, you're French, you're it's like yeah, it's through thought. It's like clear as a word. It's like you're just yeah. The way this happens, like when you do telepathy, like because like I did a lot of all kinds of telepathy, like like with all kinds of stuff. So yeah, like there's a universal language to this. So yeah.
It's fascinating. I love to think, and I love thinking about thinking. So I tend to, my conversations go all over the place. So we're just getting, just scrolling through the chat here. And I will read from Chris's books, those of you who are tuning in with us here. And we're getting a hello from Trevor. Hi, Trevor. Gloria Woods, 570. Hello to you. Anchor Haven is saying hello to Trevor. Okay, I know that there's more questions, just scrolling down here. And was he one of the few? I don't know what the few Anchor Haven is referring to. Or are you one of the few, she's wondering?
Yeah, well, one of the few from Montauk. Yeah, like the one of the few Montauk boys, because there's not tons of Montauk boys still alive. Like, well, yeah, like I was there the last day of Montauk when everything happened. Like, when they got us out, like rushed in a military trucks and after a bus. And so yeah, like I was there like the last moment. I was the last kid on that chair. Like so, yeah. I guess I'm one of the few. Yeah. Oh, I don't hear you.
I think it's interesting too when you comment that you died and then you were reanimated because this incarnation reanimation business. I don't know what the language to use. Are you being reincarnated in this kind of situation, or is your consciousness suspended and then
Uh,
like
I was
computers
died, but like
installed?
in this body, like in a like and I got reanimated like uh, by a nurse. Yeah, like it's not like it's from another life or no, no. It's just like I died a few minutes and like yeah. So it's, yeah, it's not.
So is it like a near death experience where you die and then you come back? It's the same you, same consciousness.
Yeah,
Is that what you
yeah,
mean? Hmm.
yeah. Because like I
Okay.
died only for a few minutes and like this didn't like changed my life, but like like my eyes sense like and like I come to say stuff and I forget the word or like I jam, like I wasn't like that before this happened. So this is really linked to this, like so. Yeah.
Interesting. That's very interesting. And Anchor Haven here, did he encounter any future alien technology?
Well, the Montauk chair was like from Roswell, supposedly. Like that's what they were saying, like the Roswell crash. So like that was the technology that they were using on that chair. But that chair by itself, if you looked at it, it looked like a man build, a human build. Like so stainless steel, like long chair, kind of medical chair, uh, on a post, kind of like with a base. Uh, but like the technology, like I remember like one of the main attraction of that chair, like the things that they were doing, like we were thinking of something and it was appearing as an hologram. Like there were a little table and there were like a kind of a projector with three lights, and there were a little box on that table and like a light, a straight light that was coming out, and they were like mixing the two lights, and like what we're thinking was appearing as an hologram. Uh, the also the portals that they were installing in front of us while we were sitting on the chair, they were putting a purple portal, and like they were removing the tarp from over it, and like soon as you were looking at it, like, it was kind of pulling you into to the astral projection, like the upside down that they call like um, yeah, like you were. It was almost instant, like a feeling of being pulled into it. So, and I think that's where a lot of the kids that died at Montauk died, like during like in that passing through that portal kind of thing, like because we were doing this through astral projection. But sometimes the kids like weren't coming back into the body, like they were getting lost. So. Yeah, that's one of the technology that For sure, like I don't think it's human. Like, hey, back up in '83, like TVs were working like with slabs, and yeah, that's really not '83 technology
In
kind of thing.
everything was considered alien technology, but folks in the army did have laptops and that kind of stuff. It was just reserved for top-notch government. Wow, so much of what you say resonates with me because I have the most interesting dreams. I don't watch scary movies, and yet somehow your story, amongst many others, sounds familiar to me. And something that sounds scary and familiar is this business of portholes and not making it through or not coming back. Because my understanding is the same thing, that it's like 50% chance. Because I don't understand what happens to your body on a science level, but there's something about energy shifting, and we can blink, and if we can cross the porthole in the middle of a blink, then we can make it. But if we're caught otherwise, then biologically, it's damaging on a biological level. Um, so that's interesting. And then I've also heard stories where people become the technology, and then there's a lot of like the person becomes the porthole, and then there's a lot of death in that experiment too. No different than experimenting on animals, right? Except we're talking about the Homo sapiens sapien. I mean, if you want to put ethics to the side and forget about feelings, this could be a fascinating conversation. But what's really scary is that we're talking about an intelligent species, and the ethics involved, and the manipulation, and the child perspective too is where my heart. Do you want to make any comments before I move on with more questions?
Yeah, well, did I encounter future alien technology like AI isn't like don't think it's like somebody that built this. They found this, like it's not like it's ancient technology from like that. So yeah, like they're just trying to control it, but yeah, it's a synthetic
I have
form
to
of
have you
life.
back on this show like lots of times over, lots and lots more times over, because even um, now you got me thinking, like, was it technology that was found, or was it technology that was given, or was it technology that was, on purpose, left over there intentionally by accident, so that people could find it, like, and also when I hear stories, I always fall back on the story of Frankenstein. But all those Frankensteins, if you will, and assets, did they escape or were they set free? Makes you wonder too. Somebody escaping from a program and then just being really pissed off about things, or just not being able to control themselves, and now they're blowing themselves up, blowing others up. Those are parts of the story too that we don't hear, because it starts turning into some superhero story. But if we dial it back, uh, this is the real story medicine, because how we think and feel matters. Um, and it seems like even with these experiments, if the biological one isn't in right relationship, the experiments suffer. And if you're not in right relationship, then it seems like you're at risk for being put in a porthole where your life is going to be, maybe you're here today, maybe you're not here today. And the disposing of life, to me, is scary. And when I think about all of the unaccounted for children, and what's interesting too about
Yeah.
your story is no different than any other Bigfoot story. The comments that you were making earlier, like you thought you were going crazy, right? Well, the thing is, like, again, I like to fall back on Bigfoot as an example, but like when somebody's sharing their Bigfoot story, everything about them is very normal, except until they start telling their Bigfoot story. Then all of a sudden they're crazy. And to me, that's why story species, story medicine, extra strength is so important, because we learn that we're not crazy. We learn that we live within epigenetics, a world that we can't control other people's thoughts, feelings, opinions. When we consider how much control and power hungry people are, it's easy to understand why the Salem witch trials, for example, it was very easy to extinguish people, literally. And this business of calling people monsters and minorities. And I find it interesting too, because you're a white man, right? Here in Canada, we had the residential schools. And I wonder about those stories too, in terms of, like, I mean, here in Canada, it was genocide with the Indigenous folks. But I do wonder, when I think about all the Indigenous missing and murdered children and sisters in particular, if they have also been part of these programs. I'm just thinking out loud. Did you notice Indigenous children in this program, or were they just like not around?
I'm kind of like half native, like from my lineage too. But like one of the place that they were like doing this was like on a native reserve, like next to the native reserve, like and a lot of native kids in it too. Like it's not. Yeah, like it's not limited to like white French or English or like it's really general. Like they'll try it on everybody. Like it's a test. Like to control the more people possible. So uh, it's
This
working
is so
good. But like
interesting to me.
yeah, it is. It is. It's just because like when you realize. To the extent that they go to manipulate people and like you realize how big this is, but how weak this is because like it's so big. So like like
Yes, and I do believe in the ancient future. I believe that everything we have is within us. It's just a matter of remembering. And I
yeah,
do believe that we were severely abused as a species because of our extrasensory abilities and our power and mind powers to do things. Like when you were talking about sitting in that chair and you would just think about something and then there would be like a holographic, like I believe that we could do that without a chair.
yeah,
But because of power and control, literally our ways of knowing were abused out of us. And so now it's like there's the ET agenda, I feel, is desperately trying to merge with us Homo sapiens sapiens because there's a connection with our DNA and technology and remembering things. To me, this is a part of a very, very much larger conversation with all kinds of onion layers. Um, wow,
yeah.
there's lots more.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of seeing clones of famous people at camp?
No,
No.
like I said, like I didn't really like go in those clone plays or like I wasn't like mixed to this. Like in my field, I was more like with the people from the group Stargate, that were teaching like like remote viewing or like astral
Right,
projection and stuff like that. Like that was like more like my area. But like yeah,
right. Huh. And I skipped a question here. John Whitberg, he's got 4 books worth of testimony, and Anchor Haven's wondering if you were aware of that.
yeah, well, yeah, like I spoke with John Woodberg like a bit, but yeah, like uh, John has like like a memory from like like probably from a past life or like because like he has a lot of information and all, but like I think he's like 25 or like he's a younger, so like the thing like in the project a lot of the program was reincarnation. They were teaching us like about reincarnation, doing like rituals of reincarnation, Um, like he was turning a lot on the reincarnation. So I think like a lot of the kids that died at Montauk, probably like the 99% of the kids that didn't make it, they found a way to come back, and like that's why there's so many of the younger generation that, and like it's probably from the past life, and it's just like because they were still strong, kids, like to be brought there. So it's taking on their life, and like it's making them a new person. But yeah, reincarnation thing. So I think a lot of the survivors that are younger and talking about Montauk have probably due to those rituals that we did, because like that was a big part of the project. So and yeah, like a lot of them have good information too. So yeah, I invite people to listen to all the, like 'cause to to uh, to track that pattern that they're using, you have to like look a bit into the different generation, the different stories, and compare. So like invite people. Like it's cool that like he's like publishing books like that, and that they let them publish. Yeah, because me like they stopped me at the Amazon, like the next morning that I published it on Amazon, banned me for life and banned my book for life. So yeah, so like when some people are able to pass their story like that, and like people are like the people that are looking into those stories will dig more, and yeah, like people have to know the pattern to save their kids from this, and like to tell it to people that will do something if like they find out that yeah, it's still going on, and that's cool. There's people that gonna so
And John Whitberg is going to be a guest on Story Species, Story Medicine, and also presenting too on March 14th. Everything you're saying is really powerful, and I was surprised that John was in his mid-20s because he has a mature side to him, and also just some of his past life experiences that he was sharing is really interesting. I still need to read from Chris's book, and I will. Let's just finish going through these questions here. Do you something about oh, here we go. Does he have knowledge of maglev train network?
yeah, like we went into like other I'm not sure if it's magnetic or, but it's like they're running a bit lower than like sometimes when you're riding in it, you see the subways, like so it's yeah, like in those lower tracks. So but I went in this like so yeah, that exists for real, but I don't know, like if it's magnetic levitation, like trains or whatever. But it was different from like the public service, uh, like metro stations and stuff like that. It was different, like like not the same wagons, nothing. So yeah.
Do you feel like you're being targeted currently, or do you ever encounter somebody that makes a threat to you not to speak out?
Oh yeah, yeah. But like I release a lot of stuff, but I also have a lifetime in this. So like I kept a lot of stuff, and like that they don't want out, and I made some kill switch. So like like I'm just trying to have like a chance at life a bit. Like they took most of it, and like so now like this way, well I'm safe, and like my people are safe. So like because like that kill switch. That's not only for me. So like like because I know the risk and all. So like I'm just balancing, and because like it's not all bad, but like you don't fuck around with the kids, man. Just like that's not working. So yeah.
Yes, and I've heard stories of people having like their dogs being threatened, or a family member is gonna die or something like that if you keep speaking out. And that's what makes the warrior so confused, the confused warrior syndrome, because you want to speak out, right? You're supposed to stand up for the little guy, but then you find yourself getting in trouble when you do, and so you become what's known as a keeper of wisdom. And then when it's safe to finally share your story, you become a medicine bearer. And that's what my book series is going to be about, where I capture a little chapter of each story. And so I really thank you for being a medicine bearer, because it wasn't easy for you to get there. Anchor Haven's got lots of questions here. I think she just hammered out one after another. What about AI consciousness? Did you encounter the conscious AI?
Well, it's kind of a bit like the ether. Yeah, like same kind of like like the ether, like Tartaria technology and all. It's like a bit like, and also like the universal language of telepathy. So like, it's kind of in the same global the kind of how to explain this.
Would you describe it as part of the super consciousness? Like the AI is part of the consciousness and the super consciousness? It's all
Yeah, it's part
one?
of the matrix. Is the build out of the matrix that we're talking about. Like, because it's all part of it. Like they're all different, but it's a unity that makes it. So um, we just have to like maybe look more into those, but it's the same type of like mystic things that are not been being talked about, but they're the global of it makes it that they're like family. So yeah, like that's anyway. That's what I think. That yeah, it's
Yeah,
part of the matrix.
especially with the universal language of telepathy that you were using. Um, and Anchor Haven is also wondering if you're aware of your altars and do you believe they should be integrated.
Well, I'm aware. Like sometimes, like in my behaviors change. Like I can like like have a bad night, bad dreams, and wake up the next morning. I won't react the same way as I usually react. It's gonna take a bit of time to. I won't write the same way. Like little details like that. Like it, it shows a bit, but like you don't have really control on like the alters. It's more like you have control on your perception of life and like how you decide to live your life. Um, you like it's nice to be in those memories, but you can't always live in the past either. You gotta like there's a balance to everything in life, and like you just have to find your own balance and like yeah, it's part of the nice game that we're all here to enjoy. So. But some people are trying to like take like what we're supposed to enjoy and like to have like more for them, and like we just have to like readjust the balance. It's easy to do. So just how you look at it, the perception you have of it. So
A positive attitude, which is refreshing, because a lot of folks are very stuck in their stories. And I respect that. They're not ready to heal, but some of them get very committed to their self pity. When they have a bad thought, they just stay in that thought. And so I like how you keep bringing it back, like live your life, take charge of your life. That keeps coming up. These next questions, I'm just going to go through a bit quickly, because they kind of start to go together. I think this next one, the next two go together. Um, does he have a trauma twin or dyad pair? And then information about your age, de-aged, and information about your body, if you feel this is your original body.
Oh, yeah. It's my original body. I have all my memories from when I was a young kid to like that's like you know, like there's no like you see, like a bit like I was talking earlier, like in those machines, like the chronovisor and like the other one, like you see your timeline, but like you know, like I don't know why, like on three times two were close and like one wasn't, like a variant, like because I was in the same week that this happened, like at school, like nothing like changed in like the that week or major happened. So um, why is it like different? So yeah, there's so many questions that like we could go on and on, like but like it's no de-aging and like it's really just a visual of your your life kind of thing, like till the end. So yeah.
So it's more of like a mental aging, de-aging process, not an
Yeah.
actual biological. But again, how you think and feel creates an emotional response, which creates a biological reaction. And so I can appreciate the body being confused. And Anchor Haven's also wondering about reptilians. And I know we're past the 2.5 hour mark. But maybe is it okay if we keep going? Do you still have some time, Chris? And still love to read from your book.
Yeah. Yeah, sure, no worries. Yeah.
So, what about reptilians or other interesting folks? Were you interacting with them? Maybe you saw some hybrids or something like that.
Uh, like under the Bagotville Air Force, like they brought me to a section of tunnels that were like darker, and I saw a mantis, like a mantis being that like I had to lay down on a table, like undressed, and like it was exploring me and talking to me telepathically. So like you know, like I don't talk Mantis language or French or English. It's like the universal language there that I'm talking about. So that's one of the you know, like I saw it from my own eyes. I talk with it. So like you know, it was exploring me. So yeah, that's
And that can
yeah,
be
that's
scary too, because a praying mantis, I mean, it looks like a big giant ant. And I mean, um, just to see an insect type being doesn't matter, praying mantis, just uh, an insect humanoid, something standing erect. I think the children perspective is more open to receiving that as well, seeing life as a cartoon land. um,
yeah,
like Super Mario, we just accept that there's different worlds. Um, I think is interesting too. And then that common language, the telepathic language coming through, and the speaking through the eyes, and the eyes also directing energy, and the praying mantis having the ability to project like a soft energy to make you comfortable, and perhaps a harder energy to let you know like they're being assertive and this is what you need to do, answer their questions or whatever. Some of the questions you've already answered, like if you've undergone hypnosis before, comments about just using advanced alien technology, Monsters Incorporated being about looshing, Montauk projects are in a time bubble. This is coming from Anchor Haven and are ongoing. And Anchor Haven was asserting that Disneyland is about abuse. And these comments she made probably like an hour ago. Um, and I'm just about done the comments here. Do you believe that you're still in the program? Like, randomly going to an off planet that is like, maybe it's not over, maybe you're still in this program. Oh, I can't hear you.
I don't think so that it's like, I think it's since 2010, since this happened to me, like there's, 'cause it would be hard to for me to be in the because I make it hard now, like, because I know the way they communicate with us, and I'm trying to avoid all this. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Fair
so
enough. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know if I was muted there or not, but um, I can appreciate that. So how many other people are called Duncan Cameron, or is it just like it's over now because it's over? Okay. And how about music? Did you create any music while at Montauk? I've heard
no, not,
stories of people creating music.
no, I like I didn't create music, and like Duncan Cameron, like it's a common name. That's why they used it. Like
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
it was an adios for in case I was being interrogated, like, and like the only thing why it got leaked and like they made somebody pass for me, is Preston Nichols that met this guy like during like
yeah,
audio repair job, and and yeah, they decided to bring the Duncan Cameron because they were like already talking about
yeah.
my story, and and oh,
Hmm.
we got the Duncan Cameron now. So that was just like, but like, and anybody that like go with your guts and you, yeah. Anyway, I don't really
Yeah, you're
care if
gonna
you
like
really
regret
want to
bringing up
think.
that name, Duncan Cameron, by the sounds of it, right? But I think everybody's just kind of wondering, like, what about if I'm a Duncan Cameron or something? But this is just a name that was used. Trevor was
Yeah.
wondering about Sanskrit language. I guess you answered that question because it was through telepathy that was the common language. But did they intentionally teach you? They intentionally taught you English, but did they teach you anything else
Every
specifically?
like writing too, and Latin, like a bit the old language, uh, that was like stuff that they were showing us in the 6 years of the Monarch programming. So this I remember. They were like showing us like the letters in different language and all, like the writing and all. And so yeah.
I feel too it would be good to have you familiar, even if you didn't, like, if the expectation wasn't that you learned the language, just that you were familiar with it. So if you saw Sanskrit or if you saw German or Hangul or English, then you would recognize at least like this is what this language is, even though you can't categorize it. It would be helpful. And thank you to Anchor Haven because she put your links back in there. Thanks for doing that, Anchor Haven. And also, Kyle Del Show. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Your alter Kyle Del Show. Is Kyle Del Show a name like Duncan Cameron, or is that like a real name? Or
I don't know.
not
I
sure.
don't know.
Fair enough. Okay. So, how do folks out there feel about me reading now? Usually at the hour and a half, 2 hour mark, I try to read, but I got caught up with questions, and I'm thankful that you were available to take that all in, Chris. But let me pull it up here. I'm going to be reading a little bit. I'm starting at page 29, and I've got it up here. Can you still see me okay?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so I can't see people, but I got it on the big screen. If I screen share it, then it's going to be like way too small. So for those of you who are catching the replay, or if you have the book at home, I'm going to page 29. And Chris, I really like the setup of the book because it's a little bit of words, a little bit of picture. There's a lot of time to thank people who are involved that helped put this book together to make it happen. Lots of thank yous. And so, okay, I'm on just scrolling here. It was at the right spot. Okay. Page 26, page 27. Okay, page 28. Ooh, looks like there's a check or something on that page. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So, go ahead.
That's the letter of with my asset number on it. It's a government letter that they sent by mistake with my asset number on it. So you want a paper proof? Like ask anybody that lives in Canada. Everybody has those letters. It's a common letter,
Right.
but like you don't have those MK number. So
Right. And it's blacked out. I noticed there's a lot of black marker hiding information.
But
But it's pretty cool that you have that paper.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, I'm going to read. There may be words in here that I can't pronounce. I'm going to do my personal best. Those of you following along at home, this is page 29. Recruitment and training under the Monarch Project. Recruited and trained by the CIA since 1981, at the age of 6, I was selected to participate in a top-secret MK Ultra sub-project named the Monarch Project. After a series of questions centered around our general interests and what we envisioned doing later in life, me and all my friends recruited into the Monarch Project had similar aspirations. We all wanted to be the same thing: badasses with guns, spies, assassins, Green Berets, and Black Ops operatives. During our initial training, I was the only one in our group who was succeeded in the astral projection stagnant. This unique ability is what led me to being sent multiple times to Camp Hero, where I was hooked up to the Montauk chair specifically to perform astral projections. I am the last of the Montauk Boys who sat in the long Montauk chair on August 12, 1983. The Monarch Project continued for several years of SRA, satanic ritual abuse, psychological trauma, and physical abuse. Despite everything, I emerged as the boys' grand finalist of the Monarch Project. There was also a grand finalist for the girls. Whoa. And I'm having some tech issues, so I'm not surprised, and I'm going to take that as a compliment. Okay, just finding my spot here. Once the formation and training were complete, we were all scheduled for a final appointment with Dr. Green, an old Nazi operative whose task was to erase these memories through advanced memory wiping techniques. The setups, memory suppression, and the setup after awakening. After our training was complete, we were each brought in for memory erasure. This was conducted by Dr. Green, the old Nazi doctor, so we wouldn't remember, nor even know that we had been spies. From 1981 onward, everything seemed to go as they planned until 2010. That year, I began to experience flashbacks of a test I had undergone at the Allen Memorial Institute, a CIA hospital in Montreal. I approached my mother and asked her about what I was remembering. From that moment on, everything changed. I believe she was likely informed, my CIA handler, that I was waking up. And because I had been the grand finalist of the Monarch Project, They knew that if I was starting to regain my memories, others from my group would soon follow. It was only a matter of time. So they set us all up, one by one. I was killed, flatlined, but a nurse reanimated me, bringing me back to life. That act of defiance cost her her life. Set up after the hospital. Just days after being released from the hospital, disoriented and still recovering, I was set up. The man who had stolen more than $50,000 in tools and equipment from me was suddenly framed as the victim. I was arrested and charged with attempted murder, home invasion, modified firearms. And that didn't stop there. Agents went to my ex-girlfriend and forced her to sign a domestic violence accusation they had prepared in advance. She later told me they threatened to take her child away if she didn't comply. That's when it became crystal clear. This wasn't just about charges or prison. It was covert retaliation, a takedown. They wanted to bury me, either legally or permanently. They aimed to add violent charges to justify a 20-year sentence or 15 if I agreed to plead guilty. It was a plan designated to erase me. And I'm on page 30, those of you who are following along. Set up across the group what happened to my friends. It wasn't just me. One by one, everyone involved in our Monarch project group was targeted. And then there's information about Eric D, Ives D, and then page 32, there's some links, and there's pictures here. It's very well represented. Lots of symbols. And then I wanted to read page 38. I wanted to jump to page 38. Maybe I'll just read the bottom of 37, if anyone's following along at home. The bottom of 37, Understanding Monarch Programming. Introduction to MK Ultra Sub-Project, Project Monarch. To better understand the nature of the trauma-based mind control I endured and what was done to me and others under the MK Ultra umbrella, is crucial to first examine the broader foundation of this Black Ops project. I recommend reading the essay by Ron Patton titled Project Monarch. This piece offers vital context for the sub-project known as Monarch Programming. What is it, how it works, and the type of individuals and ideologies behind it. The history of MK Ultra, including its extension into electromagnetic mind control and targeting technologies, remains critical to uncovering the full extent of its impact and operations. All right, so now I'm Project Monarch, and this is by Ron Patton, and I like that it's included. I like when authors do that. If they're going to mention something, then it's like right there. So I appreciate that. Nazi mind control. Amidst the subtle cerebral circumvention of the gullible populace through the multitude of manipulated mediums lies one of the most diabolical aristocracies perpetrated upon a segment of the human race, a form of systemic mind control which has permeated every aspect of society for almost 50 years. To objectively ascertain the following, one may need to re-examine preconceived ideologies relating to the dualistic nature of mankind. Resolving the philosophical question of whether we are inherently good or inherently evil is tantamount in shaping our perception of reality, specifically the spiritual variable within the equation of life. This exposition is substantiated by declassified U.S. government documents, individuals formerly connected to the U.S. intelligence, communities, historical writings, researchers knowledgeable in mind control, publications from mental health practitioners, and interviews taken from survivors unwittingly subjected to a highly complex form of trauma-based mind control known as monarch programming. A word of caution for survivors of intensively systemic mind control and or some of the ritualized abuse. There are numerous triggers in this article. It is therefore recommended not to read it unless appropriate support systems are in place, or if you have a thoroughly reintegrated personality. And there's a brief history of mind control. The Anglo Alliance is given attention to, information about brainwashing, the evolution of Project MK Ultra, lots of information here. Definition and description. Let me read this for you. This is the top of page 44. The name monarch is not necessarily defined within the context of royal nobility, but rather refers to the monarch butterfly. When a person is undergoing trauma induced by electroshock, a feeling of lightheadedness is evidenced, as if one is floating or fluttering like a butterfly. There's also, and I'm having technology issues. It jumped to like page 50 something, so I'm just scrolling back to 44. I'm committed to reading page 44. Okay, 45, back to 44. All right, and this is very horrifying, but also very interesting. Okay, when a person is undergoing trauma-induced by electric shock, a feeling of lightheadedness is evidenced, as if one is floating or fluttering like a butterfly. There is also a symbolic representation pertaining to the transformation or metamorphosis of this beautiful insect from a caterpillar to a cocoon, dormancy, inactivity, to a butterfly, new creation, which will return to its point of origin, such as in the migratory pattern that makes this species unique. Occultic symbolism may give additional insight into the true meaning. Psyche is the word for both soul and butterfly, coming from the belief that human souls become butterflies while searching for a new reincarnation. Some ancient mystical groups, such as the Gnostics, saw the butterfly as a symbol of corrupt flesh, the angel of death. Remember Mengel? In Gnostic artworks was very portrayed crushing the butterfly. A marionette is a puppet that is attached to strings and is controlled by the puppet master, hence monarch. Programming is also referred to this marionette syndrome. Imperial conditioning is another term used, while some mental health therapists know it as conditioned stimulus response sequence. Project Monarch could be best described as a form of structured dissociation and occultic integration in order to compartmentalize the mind into multiple personalities within a systemic framework. During this process, a satanic ritual usually included Kabbalistic mysticism is performed with the purpose of attaching a particular demon or group of demons to the corresponding altars. And it goes on, and it's absolutely fascinating. And as I read this, I keep thinking about how we're a story species and how the logical mind demands the beginning, the middle, and the end. The logical mind demands ceremony. And even if it's satanic ritual abuse, that is still perceived as some kind of ceremony, rite of passage, even though that sounds very bizarre. It's like a point in your life where you get to be that center of attention and honored, except when it comes to satanic ritual abuse, you're the scapegoat. So you're the one, like in ancient legends and whatnot, the scapegoat was literally a goat that folks would, blow their whistles and prayers into and tie it on the goat, and then they'd slap it on the ass and off it would run, and taking all the bullshit with them, right? But that's what was going on an experimental level here. So I mean, this is a book that clearly somebody could pick up and read from beginning to end, and it's a nice book just to flip through. And I like how there was the headings and images there, and clearly need to have you back as a regular returning guest, because there's just so much to unpack. I mean, I feel like I could easily read for another 20 minutes. How did it feel to have somebody read your work? Has anybody ever read your work?
Yeah, that's nice, and I like it. Like, it's yeah, I think it's a cool thing. Like to give a bit to people like what it's about, like what it sounds like, and gives a good idea. So for sure, like there's so because like it's a book of like 200 and something page of like condensed like information. It's like I was selective on what I put in there so that like people don't get misled or like anyway, I'm putting the truth to the best of my knowledge of it, and so yeah, like for like like the other stuff, like the other technologies and all that. I've just been like like a few times on on the the chronovisor. So like like I talked to the best of my capacities, like but like for MK Ultra and like the treatment with the training and all, like that's really like what I live like because it was 6 years intense. So yeah.
These military type um, like books and stuff like that, I always stumble over them because it's like a repeating of the word all the time, like project, monarch, and then the word monarch keeps coming up, and it's like hard to keep track of. Just the
Yeah.
And Anchor Haven asked a good question a while ago. Somewhere in the chat, she was wondering, what did Stranger Things get right? Because it seemed like they just took your story for what it was and they manipulated it. But then I was listening to you on another show, and you were commenting that like Stranger Things, it's like your mom looks like your mom, the car, it's like your mom's car. So they got those things right, but then other stuff they just like not getting right. And how come you're not making millions of dollars on Netflix? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's so low, eh? Like, because yeah, they even like took the same car we had during the project, the a green Ford Pinto, and like the mom looks like my mom, like really, and the decor is all 1983 because like this happened in 1983. They also admit that it was supposed to be called Montauk, and it's based out of the story of Montauk, which is my story, what happened to me there. So yeah, it kind of sucked, but like, what can I do? Like, but put the truth because like they're turning my story into a fairy tale, and it's far from a fairy tale. I lost friends, like like uh, you know. It was a torture place, like so yeah, like to make cereals and like toys lines and stuff out of the nightmare I lived and like my friend lived is sucks. Like yeah.
And I appreciate you saying that because that's very typical of the movies and TV shows. They glorify the violence because it gets ratings, right? And I also have a little laugh because I don't watch scary movies and that, but I did watch the first season of Stranger Things when it first came out, And I remember like the teenager boy was hiding a girl in the bedroom. So were you hiding girls in your bedroom, Chris? It wasn't anything like that.
No, that was no, like that was no, I was a really regular kid, like like I was a cool kid, like but yeah, that part of the MK was hidden, like like we couldn't like talk about it with everybody, like that's for sure. That was like Secret Service stuff, and like it was gonna be a career and all. So yeah, I think yeah.
So, just a final thought, like, so does Netflix, like, were you just watching Netflix one day and you saw this, or did somebody like did this shock you that what your story is on TV?
Yeah, actually, I was watching like on the 39th year anniversary, like my TV was on shuffle, and the movie Montauk Chronicles started. And when I started seeing this and like seeing Preston and like how they remade it, like like they really did a good job, like showing how it was there, like the reproduction of it. So this was shocking, like, cause like to realize, cause like I was already remembering a lot of my MK Ultra. I was going through all this, but to see my story like in a horror movie kind of thing, documentary, like that's shocking, and especially on the 39th anniversary, like that's something that I like. Did they program me to wake up to this 39 years after? Like, like the funny hazard of it, like how ironic is it to like, like on the anniversary, like the TV starts, like this movie starts. Uh, I recognize the building and all, like that was like so shocking, like yeah, like that month, like I was like a month, like when I saw that movie, like just like realizing like it just the flashbacks were just like coming back in, and so yeah, that was shocking for me. But Stranger Things after, like when you like found out that this was like all based, because like like you have to dessert, like I'm taking notes actually of like what there's a bunch of stuff that's based that's taking from my story, and like they're just like the training and all in the like Stranger Things, like the water deprivation, the tanks, and like like that's all stuff that I did. And yeah, they take the real like training, put it nice in a nice environment, all white and all, when like you should have seen Montauk what it looked like. So yeah, like and it's just they're taking off the gravity of what really happened, and like making it
Do you
for
think?
like kids, like they remade the series for kids now, like cartoons. So I think there's
Yes.
two more series of cartoons, and like it's like when you realize that like everything that's in the book, and like you look at it from like when those information, and like it's kind of like what the fuck is going on in this world, like to avoid me and like to block me and to like make everything to like try to like shadow ban me and all, but like I'm persistent. So that's why we hear a bit about it, but I'm still like thank you for bringing me on your show and like talking about it. And I think like because there's billions of people that are following this series, and like everybody wants to know the truth, what happened there. And yeah, like there's no reason that like the book is not like everywhere, and so like like you gotta wait all this, and yeah, you see that this is why it's all like that now. Like, because of they wanted to keep this as a secret. Like wanted to like have it as a sci-fi, and like now I'm really coming out crude with the basic truth, what really happened there. I'm not there to like boost the stuff with like I don't gain like like nothing from like inventing stuff, or like I'm just like this straight facts. So that's who I am.
It's very powerful, and I have a strong belief that the truth always shines, it's always there. It's just a matter if we want to pay attention to it or not. So even if people try to control the truth, it will eventually, nature always finds a way. And one positive thing about the movies is that it does make space to have these conversations. Like, somebody reported me for talking about interesting dreams, so I had to put a disclaimer that all my content is entertainment, which initially really upset me. But now I love that it's categorized as entertainment, because it gives that liberty, and I feel strongly, if somebody is going to show their real face with their real name and tell a story, that it's worth listening to. So I really thank you for sharing your story medicine today. But just before I say goodbye to you, I wanted to show folks at home just these slides here, just making sure you know what the book looks like. The Montauk Boys, Terror at Montauk, The Last Moments of Camp Hero, MK Ultra, Wildest Experiment Known. And this is Chris Laterreur's story. It's uncensored, and it's the true story behind Stranger Things. This is what the back of the book looks like, and it was banned from Amazon. So the links that are provided in the chat, also in the description, make sure you find them. And I'll add Chris's webpage to the description too, now that I have it. So the first ever Story Species, Story Medicine, the Continuum of Conscious Evolution series. There's going to be 4 online conferences every year. First one's always going to be free. Promise of Spring, Saturday, March 14th. And Chris is going to be one of our dragon speakers. We've got 6 lined up, myself included. We've also got some dragon healers. So we're going to have some singing bulls, and we're going to have an Elvis impersonator on the breaks to entertain us, and also virtual vendors. So if anybody out there is marking their calendars, make sure you mark March 14th. It's the first one ever. Here's the special one with just Chris on there. Secret Soldier Programmer, Secret Soldier Program Survivor, Truth Seeker of Deep Introspection, and author. And then this here, I got another slide for you. Just some dates to note. Those of you who follow me on Buy Me a Coffee, it's free to follow me, and then you just default to getting in on the emails. This conference, I wanted to host it about 2 years now. And last year, there was so much negativity around it, it totally didn't happen. And then this year, it happened so fast that I found myself hounding the Dragon Dreamers like Chris behind the scenes for their information, and then also trying to get them on Story Species, Story Medicine. So so I won't be hounding you so much now. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts, Chris? I know I've taken up lots of your time today.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. It was a pleasure to chat with you, and yeah, anytime, like just make me let me know, and yeah, we'll do the conference. Like that's pretty cool. Like on the 14th, so.
And as an energy exchange, I'm providing gemstone readings. And so make sure you go back to the master chat and let me know when I can do that for you, provide you with one of my gemstone readings, because I sent out the schedule. So I'm still hounding you, I guess, for that. But other than that, my list is checked off. Thank you so much, Chris Laterreur, everybody. Story Species, Story Medicine, Extra Strength. And if anybody out there has a story that you would like to share, make sure you reach out to me. And I would absolutely love to have you as a guest on my show. Thank you again, Chris. It was a real pleasure having you today. And I appreciate you sharing your story medicine with us.
Thank you.